When the Doom 3 BFG edition dropped in 2012, it contained Doom 1 and Doom 2 as a bonus. This release was aiming to be the ultimate Doom collection, and while I don't think it fully succeeded due to the lack of the master levels, Final Doom, or Doom 64, it did still contain No Rest for the Living. Now this was initially an exclusive episode for the Xbox Live Arcade version of Doom 2, and at the time, there was no official method of playing it on PC. No Rest for the Living took advantage of the Xbox's hardware by making the levels very detailed and packing them full of monsters. Thankfully, the BFG edition came along and made it so that PC players have access to this expansion, even though there are still legitimate issues with the release itself. I've already covered the changes that id Software made with Doom 3 in the BFG edition, but the biggest issue for me when it comes to the classic Doom games is the lack of options on display. I don't really care about the more trivial alterations, like the medkits not having a red cross on them, or even the Nazi references being cut from the Wolfenstein secret levels. That stuff can be ignored for the most part, but not having customizable controls, or even having the ability to scale the HUD, are real problems to me. It's a death by 1,000 cut situation with the classic Doom BFG ports. Small accessibility issues that pile on top of each other. Also, the audio is muffled and rather low quality in the BFG edition, which dampens the experience because the music and sound effects in classic Doom are so iconic. Luckily, you aren't forced to play in this less than stellar BFG edition, as you can just drop the WAD files into any source port you want and play from there. I'm not going to do that for this video. I want to keep the experience as authentic as possible, but the poor BFG version still doesn't take away from the fact that No Rest for the Living is arguably the best classic Doom expansion. I don't really consider Final Doom as an expansion, but if I did, Plutonia might edge No Rest for the Living out by a bit, but they are still both quality level packs. Episode 4 of the Ultimate Doom probably has higher highs than No Rest for the Living, but the latter is way more consistent. There are no downright bad levels in this expansion, and while I prefer some more than others, No Rest for the Living is a quality set overall. The Earth base is the first level of the expansion, and this is a deceptively complex map. You can take the normal route to the exit and not have much trouble along the way, but if you go secret hunting, the level will become much more difficult as a result. You will be rewarded with the super shotgun and the chain gun though, but the level will counter that with Hell Knights, Revenants, Pain Elementals, and Mancubi. The player can make this opening level as hard as they want, which is such a cool idea. The Earth base is a pretty perfect start to the expansion, and it looks great as well. In fact, all of the levels in No Rest for the Living are nice to look at, and they mostly don't blend together. The Pain Lab still has a good amount of secrets to uncover if you want, but the level itself is more straightforward in comparison to the last. There are a bunch of linear corridors packed with demons to blast away with the super shotgun and chain gun, if you grab them in the first level of course. The quantity of monsters is increased in level 2, and generally speaking, this expansion has a perfect difficulty curve. Sure, there are a couple of spikes here and there, but it never feels cheap, unfair, or that the levels get too hard too quick. Level 3 starts off innocently enough in a familiar looking tech base, but then the environment opens up for the player and you have free reign to explore the titular Canyon of the Dead. While there are no memorable combat encounters in this level, the monsters are more so decoration, and exploring the map is what you'll be focusing on. That being said, there's small groups of Cacodemons and Mancubi to keep you on your toes, and getting rid of the Arachnotron on the other side of a bridge is a must. Canyon of the Dead is solid overall, and I like how it takes a different approach to the previous action-centered levels. Hell Mountain is an uphill battle featuring Hell Knights, Arachnotrons, Mancubi, and a group of chain gunners. Making your way up to the castle at the end is awesome, and it's enjoyable how you have to pick off enemies strategically rather than going in guns blazing. There is an incremental change to the environment from level 3 to level 4, where the demonic influence starts to take effect. Seeing more lava and hellish textures is nice, and I like how the expansion introduces it slowly over time, not all at once. When we get up to Vivisection, the level is complete with bloody lakes, demonic wall graphics, and the more gruesome doom imagery. Speaking of level 5, it is definitely the hardest map in the expansion. It's no Plutonia level or anything like that, but the cramped space to maneuver combined with the hordes of enemies around every corner makes the situation tense. Whenever you feel like you're safe, more monsters appear soon after. I love this level, but I'm really bad at it for some reason. I can beat Plutonia on Ultra Violence and not be too worried, but this level feels like my specific kryptonite. That being said, Vivisection is extremely well designed, and its claustrophobic structure is great. The next two levels are probably the weakest in the set, and that's unfortunate because they fully lean into the Hell aesthetic. The Archvile encounter is the only recognizable set piece in level 6, Inferno of Blood. As for level 7, the initial section where you're climbing up the spiral staircase and then you get ambushed by Kaku demons is really well done. Later on in the level, you have to kill the Archvile, but 2 Mancubi are blocking your way, which is some good monster placement right there. Aside from those sections, Inferno of Blood and Baron's Banquet don't have too much to offer, but they aren't terrible maps, all things considered. Like I said before, there are no bad maps in No Rest for the Living, and at least the weaker levels look nice and have decent yet less memorable gameplay. The final level of the episode seems to disappoint most people, but I don't mind it at all. Level 8 is just a basic cyber demon fight with switches you need to press to lower the walls that could get in your way potentially. Oh, and also there's a fuck ton of imps to deal with, but unlike the Ancient Gods Part 2, hordes of low-level monsters are fun to destroy in this level. The secret map for this expansion is basically a giant warehouse filled up with demons, and it's the only level that features a spider mastermind, which is interesting. I like that No Rest for the Living is kinda reserved in that regard, and how it's not an episode with insane difficulty like Plutonia or TNT. Now that Doom 1 and 2 are remastered on consoles and PC, I'd say go check out No Rest for the Living, and also give it another go if you've already played it. For those people who have played the Hell on Earth base campaign, this expansion is a solid way to spend an afternoon, and its consistently good level design will keep you engaged.